Donald Trump just held a meeting with 5 African presidents in Washington, labeled the African Summit. And when it comes to diplomatic PR moments, this is one of the most humiliating, cringe, and embarrassing moments I've ever seen. In this video, I'm going to break down what was discussed in the meeting and explain exactly why this was a disaster for Africa. I'm also going to give some suggestions on what should have been done, particularly from the African perspective. For those of you that don't know, my name is TJ. I'm Nigerian and British mixed, and on this channel, we talk about African geopolitics. So hot off the heels of the BRICS summit, which happened just one day earlier, Donald Trump had his African summit. This is a meeting that was announced just a few weeks ago where he would invite 5 African presidents from 5 countries to come to Washington to discuss trade and build business relationships. And it was framed around the riches of Africa, which for me already set up the potential for a good old neo-colonial scenario. And my goodness, this meeting did not disappoint. First of all, let's take a look at the setup. Have you ever seen a media meeting like this where the dignitaries, the presidents of African nations positioned with their backs to the media? Anytime they wanted to interact with the media, they had to do this awkward turnaround on their chairs, which just optically looked disastrous. And it reinforces this frame of begging African leaders coming to big Washington to plead and beg for our help. You might say it's because of the table setup and these guys are actually having a meeting. Well, this is how Putin did it just a few months ago when he had a similar situation. Notice how there's different camera angles, everybody gets a fair view, and there's a camera angle down the center of the table so you can see both sides clearly balanced. And I'm sorry to say, but this to me could never be an accident or coincidence situation. When it comes to this type of high-level dealing, every little detail is managed carefully. For example, there was a situation in the UK a few years ago where then the Prime Minister of the UK was forced to stop holding a styrofoam cup because of the optics of it.
No disposable cups.
These guys are meticulous in the way they practice body language. For example, you very rarely see a president do something like point directly. It's usually done like this. These types of things are carefully managed. And given the already horrible PR the United States is having regarding the relations with the US, particularly off the back of our good old friend Michael Langley, you would have thought that an awkward positioning scenario like this, where the backs of the presidents are to the media, would never be allowed to happen. But here we are. Now, throughout the meeting, Trump makes these sweeping statements about Africa in general, and very rarely focuses on the individual countries. And one particular highlight is this statement.
There's a lot of anger on your continent, and we've been able to solve a lot of it.
There's a lot of anger in your continent, and we've been able to solve a lot of it. Exactly what anger have you solved? If it was me as the United States president, I would have had a little bit of compassion for the situation that Africa is in. Instead of leading with arrogance, positioning myself as the savior, how about just acknowledging some of the difficulties that are on the continent? Maybe even going as far as to say previous relations with Africa has not been ideal. And I personally feel really bad about this. But that's why you guys are here. We're here to fix some of these issues. We're here to tackle the difficult problems. And we really want to let you know that as America, we're back in Africa. We're back in each and every one of you. We want you guys to thrive. Why not something like that? But no, we're just going to highlight that there's a lot of hate and anger on your continent. He's going to position himself as the savior. And indeed, he mentioned the peace agreement with Rwanda and DRC several times.
They've been fighting for 30 years, 7 million are dead, and they think the number is actually quite a bit higher than that. It's been a long and vicious fight, and I just wanted to say that the countries represented were very happy that we were able to solve that problem. Most people thought it couldn't be done, but there's still much more to be done, and we're going to be facilitating peace also in places like Sudan, where they have a lot of problems. Libya and others, we have there's a lot of anger on your continent.
One of the reasons I've not yet tackled this Rwanda DRC situation is because it's so complex. I just don't fully understand it. There are so many sides, so many factions. There is inter-country play, but then there's inter-tribal play. And the idea that Trump has just come and saved the day and now there's lasting peace. It is just wholly tone deaf and ignorant. I think he vastly underestimates that situation. The landmass is so big and it's so full of rebel groups. Those rebel groups are not thinking about peace agreements that are made in Washington. At the beginning of the meeting, Trump gives this long introduction. He talks about America and Africa's dealings and his intentions and everything to do with the meeting. This is in keeping with the protocol of any type of meeting like this. And then he opens up the floor to each of the presidents.
You don't want to turn your head so much. I do it a lot. It's not pleasant. But perhaps we could start with you, please. Thank you very much.
The first president to speak is the president of Mauritania. And then instead of respectfully listening to what this guy says, he cuts him off like, you're talking too much.
In our sea waters, so lots of fishing and whatnot. I don't want to spend too much time on this.
But I appreciate it very much. I appreciate it. Maybe we're going to have to go a little bit quicker than this because we have a whole schedule. If I could just say it's, your name and your country would be great. Thank you, please.
If you could just keep it to your name and your country, that's good enough. It's like telling off a president in front of the media, and then it's setting the frame so the contribution from the other presidents has to just be short and not in fitting with the same protocol that Trump was allowed when Trump did his introduction. Again, this is framing. You're here at my request. You're here because you need me. It's reinforced over and over and over again in the meeting. Now, this is the part where I almost fell off my chair. After the president of Liberia finished speaking, Trump says to him, "Oh, really good English. Where did you get educated?"
Well, thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
Doesn't he realize that Liberia is an English-speaking country? There's a really big reason for that. There's a history behind it that is deeply intertwined with the United States. They speak English because it was established by ex-American slaves. It appears that he doesn't know this, and this is just astounding. You did no research to figure out who these people are that you're sitting on a table with, and no care or regard for how that country is going to perceive the way you interact with this person. The next situation that stuck out to me was the media questioning portion. The media had the opportunity to pitch any question they wanted to any of the leaders and Donald Trump. And the first question was from an African reporter who Trump praised and said, "This is like a great journalist." Then she proceeded to ask each of the African presidents if they would vote for Donald Trump to have a Nobel Peace Prize.
My question to you is, today you are making history by receiving 5 African presidents and showing the interest of the United States to collaborate and to work close with the African nations. African continent is watching, African youth is watching, and this new approach that your administration is taking to deal with African nations, not only based on help, but in doing business that everybody can win, is really much appreciated for all the Africans. My question is, are you planning, Mr. President, in the future to travel to Africa to see firsthand all those countries in Africa, all those potential that those countries have? And for the African leaders, my question is, as you can see, President Trump is working to bring peace not only in Africa but also in the world. Are you all considering to nominate President Trump for a Nobel Prize Peace?
That's a very nice reporter.
What kind of curated question is that? In that setting, there's only one answer to that question. Like, you're going to have to say, yes, I would vote for him. You're sitting right in front of the media with your back turned, and you're in front of Donald Trump. What else are they going to say? Or if they were to say, no, I wouldn't vote for him, they would create a diplomatic incident. So the question was meaningless. It's coming from an African reporter. You don't have to create a hardball question, but give us some substance. Ask them about the needs of their country. I mean, there's just so many things that a journalist could come up with and talk about in this scenario. And it's a huge missed opportunity from the perspective of African journalism. And then what happens is that the rest of the journalists do not ask a single question to any of the African leaders, or a question that even relates to Africa, I think, except for one. We're talking about a further 10 questions or so, all directed at Trump. They spoke about Ukraine, drones, war, Israel, everything other than what this meeting was about. So now we have a scenario where the African presidents, again, with their back to the media, have to sit like children in a room while the adults discuss the important stuff. Disastrous optics. Now, in general, what I noticed about the meeting was that it was very transactional and it was very salesy. Despite Donald Trump mentioning all of this peace that he's brought to the continent of Africa, he's pitching weapons, and he mentions this directly.
We encourage the countries here today to make greater investments in defense, hopefully, of course, buying our equipment, because we do make the best defense equipment. I guess we proved that about 2 weeks ago in Iran, but we make the best equipment. Best military equipment anywhere in the world by far. There's nobody close.
It's like a sales pitch. We want you to buy weapons. We also want you to be peaceful, but we want you to buy weapons. There's a lot of hatred on your continent, but we want you to buy weapons. It was an awkward juxtaposition, an awkward contradiction, I'd say. And then when the African presidents got their chances to speak, it all turned into a sales pitch.
But also in terms of resources, we have a great deal of resources. Many resources, and we have a lot of opportunities to offer in terms of investment. We have minerals, rare earths, rare minerals. We have manganese, we have uranium, and we have a good inclination that we have lithium and other minerals. We're the second largest producer for the last 60 years in Africa of iron ore. We produce a lot, and we have a lot of resources.
Yes, our resources, come buy our resources. We have this, we have manganese, we have iron ore, we have all of these things, and they could be yours. They all praised and did exactly what I was hoping that they wouldn't do, which was essentially lick the boots of Donald Trump in front of the media.
I also wanted to commend you for your commitment to peace throughout the world and the incredible diplomatic success that you had with the DRC, as my colleagues mentioned.
And Trump deserves it for all the efforts that he's worked on. And he brought peace back in the SIAC region. That is my region, the region where DRC and Rwanda signed a deal. And so he is now bringing peace back into a region where that was never possible. So I believe that he does deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. That is my opinion on this.
Well, thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you. I didn't know I'd be treated this nicely. This is great. We could do this all day long. Thank you very much. Please, go ahead.
I will mention the president of Gabon, who, for me, the jury is still out. I don't know if he's a good president or not. There are some things I've heard from him that I like. There are some things I've heard from him that I don't like. But the little bit of glimmer of something interesting that he said directly to Trump was that he wanted to be in a situation where they could refine and value add their own minerals.
We also want our raw materials to be processed locally in our country so that we can create value and to create jobs for youth so that they stop dying. They are crossing the sea, the ocean, to go to other countries. That is what we want, to have local processing of raw materials.
And he said, we don't want to sell directly, but if you could help us facilitate becoming this manufacturing nation, we would want that. That was something positive to be said. I was also quite eager to hear what the president of Senegal was going to say. I've been following his story since he got elected. He tries to connect with Trump. For example, he talks about setting up a golf course and would Trump play golf on our golf course?
I was wondering what your secret was for resolving all these complex crises, and I know you are a tremendous golf player. Golf requires concentration and precision, qualities that also make for a great leader. Senegal has exceptional opportunities to offer, including in the area of tourism. So perhaps an investment could be made in a golf course in Senegal. it would just be 6 hours by flight from New York, from Miami, from Europe, or from the Gulf. And that would be an opportunity for you to show off your skills on the golf course too. Thank you for your attention, sir.
It's some way to show off my skills. It's a long trip to show off my skill.
He also mentioned the smart city, a space of land that is allocated to build a smart, innovative city.
We identified a space within the city of Dakar. It has a view of the sea. It's on some 40 hectares, and this is a great opportunity for American tech companies to come in and make Dakar a tech city open to Africa.
Positioned on the Atlantic coast, only 6 hours from America and Europe. I think that was a smart thing to highlight. However, he's talking about Akon City, the disastrous project that was doomed to fail from the start. Overall, the African leaders walk into this place, they're awkwardly positioned in a setting that makes them appear weak. I would have hoped that the things that they said wouldn't have contributed to making them sound weak and come across weak. But unfortunately, the way it happened, they did. It really did just come across as weak. There was admissions of like, our country's not a big country like yours.
It's a small country also in the sense that what influence it has throughout the world. It's not like the US, Mr. President. Internationally, we understand that our weight, our influence is not that great, and we have no complex about this.
Like, why would you say that? I want to see statements of strength, not admissions of weakness. These 5 guys are representing 1.4, 1.5 billion people. Let's do it with some dignity. Here is my suggestions for what they should have said. First of all, they should have kept their cards close to their chest. I would have said, we're here to build relationships. We're here to listen to the needs of the United States and see where we can find mutual deals. Done. Zip it. Zip it right there. I wouldn't have done any turning to the media. I would have kept my head forward. I'm just going to move as if the media is not there because I'm not even positioned to talk to them. And that action of turning looks so weak. I'm going to look Trump in the eye, and that's it. Brief, short, concise, straight to the point. Let's not make the situation any worse than it already is. It is astounding to me just how tone deaf this meeting was, how Trump is towards Africa. China has its own African summit. It's called the Forum of China and Africa Cooperation, or the FOCAC. Let's just look at the pictures of what that summit looks like. Everybody's facing the media. Everyone gets a chance to talk. Look at the photo opportunity. It looks like any major international dignified diplomatic meeting. And you just make a comparison with what Trump has done here today. On top of this, China, for the last 30 years, have had a metronomic policy of meeting 5 African countries. So they have an annual 5-country meeting in the African nations itself. Then they have a summit once every 3 years where they invite everybody. How tone deaf is the United States? Why can they not see this? If I, a YouTuber, can see this, how can they not make this comparison? It's just that they don't care. They don't think they need to. They don't seem to believe in anything other than building military bases and their ideological beliefs onto the continent of Africa. Not to mention all of the historical wrongs that they have done. The Sahel region right now is riddled with the effects of American meddling, particularly regarding what they did in Libya under Obama, where they took out Gaddafi, which is a regime change operation, because they saw how Gaddafi was galvanizing the African continent. And the rebels that they paid and gave weapons to in order to do that overthrow flooded into the Sahel region. And now it's those guys that are committing all the atrocities across the Sahel region. ISIS, Jainim, Boko Haram, just like they created ISIS in the Middle East, all of which, in some measure, leads back to American meddling. We all know the saying, it's not just what you say, it's what you do. But in this case, what they say is bad, it's condescending, it's insensitive, it's not professional. And then what they do is bad. Like I mentioned, all of the meddling that they've done. All in all, this was a masterclass in how not to have a public diplomatic meeting. I hope we never see a scenario like this again, but who knows what the future may bring. I would love to know if you guys think I missed anything about this meeting. Maybe there was some positives or something I didn't see. Please let me know in the comments. But if you have nothing to say, would it be too much for me to ask you to write the words African dignity in the comments section? Just lets me know that you watched the video to the end, you like the channel, you like the video, and you want me to keep going. Thank you so much for watching this video today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Please.
Thank you.